Knock on the Saints door. Quarterback sneak by Tom Brady to the 43-year-old score. He did. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Now spike that ball, Tom Brady. Who says I'm 43? He runs right up the gut and scores 6. 7. Handoff, run the ball. Fournette slashes away to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 30, 25, to the 20. Fournette to the 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Run the ball, Leonard Fournette. Wow, what a blast up the gut, found daylight, and outran everybody. Fire the cannons, get them going. Bucs win. Bucs win, Bucs win. Fire them cannons.
First snap in Vikings territory for Tampa Bay. Brady all day. Downfield. Touchdown. Scott Miller. Four-man rush. Brady airing it out. Going deep. He's got it to Antonio Brown. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Ronald Jones will get it. Big hole. Jones gets by. Ronald Jones may go all the way. Being chased from behind. Does Jones have enough? Still on his feet. Ronald Jones, 98-yard touchdown.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Swords Up podcast. Today we're going to be talking about our 44-27 win in Week 17, the final regular season game over the Atlanta Falcons at home. And this was a great way to end off the season, securing the number 5 seed in the NFC. And so today we're going to be talking about what this win means for the playoff picture and looking at the stats from this game. But starting out with some pretty big injury news, and we got a bit of a scare in this one. Mike Evans ended up leaving the game early with what appeared to be a nasty-looking knee injury, but thankfully, it looks like Mike Evans has avoided a serious injury, as an MRI on Monday, the day after the game, confirmed that Mike Evans did not suffer any structural damage in his knee and that it was probably just a hyperextension. So that is great news. And so we'll see if he can make it back on the field for next week's game, but just great news to see that he avoided suffering a potentially season-ending injury. And so we'll see if he can make it back for the wild card round. And if he can't, he'll probably be back for the divisional round if we advance. But let's get straight into the stats now. And starting out with our player of the game. And he really stepped up in Mike Evans' absence this week. And that was the one Antonio Brown. And he had his best game so far by far as a Buccaneer. Not only was his production great, but it looks like he has found that chemistry with Tom Brady that he was brought in to provide for this offense as Tom Brady wished for. And in this game, he had a monster performance, like I said. 11 catches for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 12.5 yards per catch. And actually, with a couple extra catches at the end of the game, Antonio Brown was able to earn an incentive on his contract for reaching 45 catches on the season, so that's good for him. But now getting into the rest of the stats, let's start on the Falcons side of things. And offensively, it was an average day, you could say, from them. But Matt Ryan had a decent game. He was all right. 29 completions on 44 attempts for 265 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I said this about the game in Week 15 where Matt Ryan probably could have had a pick. There were a couple of those moments in this game where there were some balls that could have been intercepted by Buccaneer defenders, but in the end, once again, no interceptions from our defense going up against Matt Ryan. On the ground, actually an above average day for the Falcons, with Brian Hill being the leading rusher, 9 carries for 94 yards, followed by Todd Gurley, 9 carries for 18 yards. Russell Gage had 1 carry for 11 yards, Ito Smith 3 for 9 yards, Matt Ryan 3 for 1 yard, and Calvin Ridley 1 for -6 yards. Receiving, the Falcons had another player that really did pose some problems for our defense again in this one, and this time it was Russell Gage having an explosive performance, 9 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. Calvin Ridley held to 8 catches for 52 yards. Brian Hill, 3 catches for 42 yards. Hayden Hurst, the tight end, 4 catches for 28 yards and 1 touchdown. Todd Gurley, 1 for 17. Laquan Treadwell, 2 for 15. Luke Stocker, 1 for 13. And Ito Smith, 1 for 7. Defensively, Ricardo Allen had the lone interception for the Falcons in this game, also recording a pass defended, with A.J. Jarrell also recording 1 pass defended. Leading tacklers were Keanu Neal and Foye Lucan with 7 total tackles, followed by Kendall Sheffield and Ricardo Allen with 5 total tackles, and just the 1 sack recorded by Dante Fowler, with Isaiah Oliver joining Dante Fowler with a tackle for a loss recorded. And a good day from the Pro Bowl kicker Younghoe Koo, 2 for 2 on field goals and 3 for 3 on extra points. Now let's get to the Buccaneer side of things, and Tom Brady once again having a fantastic game. He has really been at peak performance in these last couple of games for us. I think ever since the second half of the first Falcons game, he's been on his best stretch of the season for about these 2.5 games now. So we'll see if he can keep it up going into the wild card round. And in this game, 26 completions on 41 attempts, 399 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception, which was definitely not his fault. I think that was definitely a drop by Scotty Miller on the interception. With Scotty Miller laying out to catch the ball, he definitely dropped it, and it ended up popping up and being intercepted by Ricardo Allen. And so just unfortunate there for Brady. I think he had his longest streak of the season going without throwing an interception. So that's just an unlucky way to end that, but nevertheless another clean game besides that moment. On the ground, Ronald Jones returned in this one and almost got to 1,000 yards on the season, but finishes with 978, recording 12 carries for 78 yards and 1 touchdown in this game. Leonard Fournette, 5 carries for 13 yards. Brady, 5 for 3 yards. Antonio Brown, I mentioned, was the leading receiver. 11 catches, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Chris Godwin also had an explosive day. 5 catches for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's really been rounding into form as well. Mike Evans, before he did leave the game with injury, thankfully broke that 1,000-yard threshold and set the record that I have been mentioning for about a couple weeks now. And it was actually the very play before Mike Evans got hurt in which he set the record. And then on the next play, he dropped a touchdown, which obviously happened right after he hyperextended his knee. And then before he left the game with injury, he had 3 catches for 46 yards. Rounding out the receiving statistics, Rob Gronkowski, 2 catches for 29 yards. Tyler Johnson, 1 for 16. Leonard Fournette, 2 for 14. Scotty Miller, 1 for 12. And Cameron Brate, 1 for 11. On the day, our defense was able to force 2 fumbles and recover both of them, with Antoine Winfield recovering 1 that was fumbled by Matt Ryan. Also, Levante David and Sean Murphy-Bunting each forced a fumble, with Sean Murphy-Bunting recovering 1 as well. No interceptions from our defense in this one, but Kevin Minter, Ross Cockrell, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Antoine Winfield each recorded a pass defended. The leading tackler was Kevin Minter with 9 total tackles, followed by Levante David with 8 total tackles, and Antoine Winfield with 7 total tackles. And recording the only sack for us in this one was Ndamukong Suh. He also recorded a tackle for a loss, along with Jason Pierre-Paul and Levante David. And Ryan Suckup, an excellent day kicking, was perfect on all 8 of his kicks, going 3 for 3 on field goals and 5 for 5 on extra points. Alright, so taking a look at why we won this game, and it was another offensive explosion for us in this one, putting up 40 plus points for the second week in a row, and it's really just great to see our offense really rounding into form heading into the postseason, because this is exactly what we needed. What concerns me a little bit is the defense has been a little bit exposed in the back half of the season in terms of pass defense. The run defense is still great, but the pass defense does need some improvements. And if we can get Carlton Davis healthy and back for the postseason, that'll help out a lot. But I think the offensive chemistry right now is at its best it's been all year. And I think with Antonio Brown really stepping up in this one, with Mike Evans' status for next week's game being unknown, I would look out for Antonio Brown, because the performance he showed in this game really leads me to believe that he's ready to step up and he can be a true number 1, even if we're without Mike Evans, which is exactly what we picked up Antonio Brown for. And I think Tom Brady's at his best he's been all year as well. I mentioned I think this is the best 2.5 game stretch he's had throughout the season, starting with the second half of the Falcons game. And we'll see if he can continue that into the wild card round. I'll get into our matchup a bit later, because I think it could be a tough task for him. But I think this is what everyone was talking about with the Buccaneers coming to the end of the season was that they were going to be expecting us to be at our best and the offensive chemistry to be at its best. And while it didn't seem like it was going to end up that way at first, I think we have really found something special on the offensive side of the ball. All right, so with that being said, let's get into the NFC playoff field and what this result does for us, as well as other results that happened from Week 17 around the league. And so taking a look at the NFC playoff field, the Packers were able to win against the Bears, putting them at the number 1 seed 13-3. The Saints 12-4, and the Seahawks also 12-4 were able to win as well, but they couldn't catch the Packers since the Packers were able to win. So the Packers, Saints, Seahawks is the same order coming into the week 1, 2, and 3. The Washington football team was able to win the NFC East, beating the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. So they win the division at 7-9, and they will be our playoff opponent in this wild card round, with us finishing at 11-5 in the 5 seed. The Rams beat the Cardinals, eliminating them, and so the Rams are the 6th seed at 10-6. They'll be playing the Seahawks, and then the Bears 8-8. With their loss to the Packers, they'll be playing the Saints in the wild card round, with the Packers obviously receiving a first round bye as the 1 seed. And so that means our next matchup will be against Washington football team in the wild card round. And so we'll be looking forward to that game because I think it'll be a really good matchup for us to see how our offense has progressed throughout the season against a tough defense in the Washington football team. But I will discuss more of that in the preview for that game. Also, I'll be doing a full playoff prediction as well, so stay tuned for those videos. But that's going to be it for this one. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and the regular season as a whole, as it is now playoff time. And so this is where things start to get down to business. And so it's time to see if the Buccaneers can finally go on another Super Bowl run, and whether they're up to the task for it, we'll just have to see. But I'm pretty hopeful going into these playoffs and seeing how the playoff picture looks. But first things first, we're going to have to take care of business in the wildcard round against Washington first. And so we'll dive into that matchup a couple videos from now. But that is it for me. Thank you for watching, and go Bucs.